for the life of the brook. There isn't a boy.
Peter Pan and Wendy is the live-action remake of the 1983 animated classic based on J.M. Barrie's classic children's story. On the night before Wendy Darling heads off to boarding school, Peter Pan and Tinkerbell fly through the window and take her and her brothers Michael and John to Neverland. But it's not long till they are ambushed by Captain Hook and his pirates. Wendy meets up with the Lost Boys and full steam ahead for a magical, high-flying, swashbuckling adventure, right?
Not a chance.
Okay, so the first thing that caught my eye in this film was the fact that there was nothing here that caught my eye. I have never seen a world brought to life by Disney that looks so empty and lifeless. And it's a world they've done before and better 70 years ago. I would have thought there would have been so much to see, so many locations to explore. But when you get there, yeah, there's an island, but that's it. There was nothing else here that made it stand out. Nothing that told me this was Neverland. Going back to the original for a second, when you see Neverland for the first time, there was so much to take in. You could see Mermaid Lagoon, the Indian camping ground, rainbows everywhere and giant mountains. This was a world that I definitely wanted to explore. In Peter Pan and Wendy, we don't get any of that. In fact, at one point, I was expecting to hear Richard Attenborough to say,
"Welcome to Jurassic Park."
Because something felt familiar as well. And when the film does try to show you something, like mermaids, the flying Jolly Roger, or the crocodile, hell, the crocodile, it's not there long enough to make an impact. Even the Lost Boys hideaway is so dull. There is no way you can make me believe that this is a kid's hideaway. It should have been filled with climbing frames, slides, hidden passageways, and drawings all over the wall. Things that show a child lives here. But all we get is a fireplace and a pile of books.
So?
Oh, don't you bloody start with me. I'm gonna get to you in a bit. No matter how many times you tell me how amazing this is, or show me the expressions of wonder on your face, you can never convince me this is Neverland. And more or less throughout the entirety of Peter Pan and Wendy, it has a gloomy, shadowy look, which made everything worse. Especially during the first few minutes of the film. It looks a bit too dark. I mean, of course there was light, but it just felt like it was fighting with the darkness and it just made my eyes tired. And that was pretty much the tone of the entire movie. During the scene where they were about to fly to Neverland, Wendy thinks of her happy thought, and a big flash of yellow light caught me off guard. I mean, it was so bright I thought it was going to burn my retinas. One moment I'm in a dark room, then all of a sudden it felt like someone shone the light of God in my face.
What are you thinking of?
Of when I was little.
Even Tinkerbell's aura isn't that bright. I mean, if she even had one at all. And now we get to the performances, which were...
What do you mean?
Okay, let's start with one of the title characters, Wendy. She's about to go off to boarding school and she's worried about growing up, which is normal. Everyone has that fear of losing their childhood. But growing up is a part of life, and that in itself is an adventure. So I'll give her character that. But she's supposed to be the second mother figure, not just to her brothers, but to the Lost Boys as well. I'm not even sure if she ever convinced the Lost Boys to come home with her. Not to say she wasn't caring, but it felt like she was a bit more carefree, and that didn't sit well with me.
So?
Especially at one point, but I'll get to that bit later. Eva Anderson didn't do much wrong here. She pretty much did what the script asked her to do. And the same can be said for John and Michael, which didn't mean much because I'm struggling to remember what they actually did in this bloody movie. They either needed rescuing or they were just there to shout Peter Pan's name. Not much else, to be honest. And that also goes for the Lost Boys. I don't think I've seen a bigger group of forgettable faces. They hardly did anything meaningful before the climax. But even that was kept to a minimal. And for a bunch of kids, they don't give off that kids vibe. For most of the time, they just look bored.
So?
Tiger Lily? I don't know what to make of her, to be honest with you. The film wants her to be the strong, empowered female character. And I have nothing against strong female characters. But I'm just sitting there thinking, why? What's the point of this? In the original, Peter was sort of crushing on Tiger Lily. And that made Wendy jealous. I would have preferred that being played out on screen. Because that would have fit in with the themes of growing up. Because feelings are weird. Granted, there was one crucial thing she did, but that should have been done by someone else. And that's also the thing with Tinkerbell too. But first off, I just want to say that it's not the skin colour I have the issue with. Yara Shahidi looks fine as Tinkerbell. I know it's an issue for other people. I get it, and I have nothing against that at all. My issue here is that they made her one of the least important characters in this film. Sorry, I'm going back to the original again, but she wasn't just some fairy that can make people fly. She had her own personality. She could be sassy, mischievous, and got jealous of Wendy too. She was a highlight of the film for many people. In Peter Pan and Wendy, she's just been reduced to sprinkling some pixie dust and reacting to That's it. And she did one thing at the end that annoyed me so much. She is supposed to be Disney's poster girl. I believe they did her character and Shahidi a disservice. Captain Hook is fine, I suppose. There's nothing really here that offends me. Jude Law does a decent job with what he's given, and I can see why they toned him down from his animated counterpart. But I would have loved to have seen more of the moustache twirling, old-fashioned villain style, because he still comes off pretty bland. Also, I'm not pleased about the fact that he didn't play Mr. Darling either. For those who don't know, whenever there is a performance of Peter Pan, whoever plays Hook plays Mr. Darling as well. They did it in the original, they did it in the 2003 film, but they didn't do it here for some reason. And they went with Alan Tudyk? You had Jude Law, you had the perfect Mr. Darling, but you went with Wash from Firefly and the chicken from Moana?
So?
I'll get you, and I'll look like a bloody accident.
And now the other title character, Peter Pan. Could Alexander Maloney live up to the title of Pan? No. I'm sorry, I'm sure Maloney is a nice kid, and I'm sure he's a talented actor. I'm not saying that to take the piss, I genuinely mean that. Again, I'm sorry, but he's not Peter Pan. He's missing that childlike wonder who could be cheeky and carefree. The boy who never grew up, basically. But Maloney's Peter Pan is an energy vacuum. It's like he enters and all the joy is just sucked out of the room, when he should be bouncing off the walls and just having the best time flying around and playing games with the Lost Boys. He's supposed to show the joy of being a kid, but there's no joy here. He's just flat. But I don't think it's entirely his fault, or the cast for that matter. I think it comes down to a script that is deprived of any joy or imagination. Peter Pan and Wendy is missing a lot of soul and magic, and I found myself not having any fun. Basically, it's the same story, but things have been changed around or have been taken out completely. Wendy getting attacked by the Lost Boys, that doesn't happen. Tinkerbell getting captured by Hook and telling him where the hideout is, that's not there either. He just somehow randomly stumbles upon it. And the crocodile, the thing I was most interested in seeing, only makes one appearance. The reason why I bring this up is because these are supposed to be good character moments, but without them they make this film more hollow. And there are things here that just don't add up. So Peter has just saved Michael and John, and this happens. What the f***? Where did this come from? As they couldn't make Wendy any more unlikable than she already was. And then they say this.
It was an adventure. Isn't that what you wanted?
Yes, but I didn't think that meant being shot out of the sky by pirates.
Or drowned. Or dismembered.
Well, what were you expecting? You knew there was pirates and you went anyway. At this point, I really wanted to turn the film off. If they didn't want to be in Neverland, I didn't want to be there either.
I want to die.
Also, they tried to have this sad backstory for Peter and Hook, which was interesting and I wasn't entirely against it. But the issue is, I haven't had that much fun so far. So you've just made a sad film even sadder. I honestly don't know why I do this to myself. I watch these bad films and I make videos about them to entertain people, and that should make me happy. But the reality is, I hate myself. I wake up every morning and I say to myself, I hope you suffer, you miserable Okay, let's talk about the scene where they first meet the Lost Boys. Especially that part in the trailer.
But you're not all boys. So? But I guess it doesn't really matter.
It kind of does. The reason why there wasn't any lost girls is because they were too clever to get lost. So what are you saying, Disney? That girls are clever, but not that clever. Disney, I know what you're doing, and you probably meant well, but I think you shot yourself in the foot here.
You stupid, stupid bastard!
But is there anything good about Peter Pan and Wendy? Well, I will say the film's fight scenes are alright, well choreographed, and the editing is not choppy, so that's a plus. And the duel at the end was pretty cool too. I got some nice Inception vibes from it. Also, I did like the shanties the pirates were singing. I do love a good sea shanty. I just wish there was more of it, or of any songs for that matter. But in my opinion, is the film worth watching for all that?
No!
In conclusion, I know a lot of people say this, but it's true. Peter Pan and Wendy is a soulless remake. It has none of the brightness, humour, adventure or magic of the original, and that makes this film no fun to watch. Everything looks bland, the story changes made the film dull, the characters were questionable at best, and the effects, apart from a few exceptions, were pretty shite. It's mostly really bad green screen. There's no magic to be found here. In fact, this might sound a bit harsh, but I genuinely believe Peter Pan and Wendy is a magic killer. I mean, the remake is not as bad as the Pinocchio remake, but at least they tried to make it look interesting and recapture some of that magic from the original. Peter Pan and Wendy felt like it wasn't even trying. This is Disney, right? The House of Mouse. The house that was built on magic and adventure. These guys are supposed to be the standard bearers for family entertainment. If I had kids, I would never sit my kids in front of this. Yes, I know it's a film aimed at kids, but as an adult, I still enjoyed the original. And I'll definitely show this to any kid and they probably would enjoy it. So if I didn't enjoy Peter Pan and Wendy, then how are they going to enjoy it? Now we're going to cut back to my trailer reaction, because I said something that I do stand by today. Take it away, past me. I don't see why this should be remade for a modern audience. And by that I mean an audience that doesn't exist. And I literally believe that Disney are throwing out all this stuff and expecting us just to consume it.
Eat my shit.
And that's not how it works, bud. But I'll leave it at that because I think this video has gone on long enough. I think I'll save the rest for another time. In another video perhaps? Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. Anyway, Peter Pan and Wendy is a soulless, magicless, joyless remake. And when I think about all the joy that I could find, it certainly won't be there.
But you're not all boys.
And that was my review of Peter Pan and Wendy. But what do you guys think? Are you going to watch the film? Have you seen the film? And if you have, tell me what you think. I would love to know. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I would genuinely like to know. And that's about everything for today, my friends. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you saw, make sure you like, share and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications and follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I've been Titch and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.